Hey folks, it's Abby and today I'm going to be going through the books that I managed to read in February. So I managed to get through 8 different books in February, so let's dive into them and tell you all about them. First up, Black Eyed Susans by Julia Heaberlin. This is a thriller that I was finishing up from the end of January and I ended up really enjoying this one. I haven't read a thriller in ages and I really enjoyed how this one tackled PTSD, the death penalty, child abuse. It tackled it very well. There's a lot of acknowledgements in the back to people who are experts in the field that Julia went and spoke to, so I really did appreciate that aspect of the book, and I also thought it was really interesting. I'm definitely intrigued now to read some more books from her, some more thrillers from her. So nice to get back into the thriller spin of things. Also, this book has been on my TBR since 2016. 4 stars! First thriller I've read in a while, so I'm glad to see it get a reasonably high rating. Then I finished up a manga which was gifted to me this month in February by my partner for Valentine's Day, and that is A Man and His Cat Volume 2 by Umi Sakurai. I read Volume 1 in December. That was a Christmas present from my partner and I absolutely fell in love with this series. It's absolutely gorgeous. So this is just, it is what it says in the tin. It is a manga about a man and his cat. It's so cute. It's so fucking cute. It's about this like older gentleman and he adopts a unwanted, unloved cat. Well, I guess he buys it, who's a bit like the price has been reduced because it wasn't seen as worth anything. It's such a little cutie and they're just adorable together, and it's about like them learning to like love each other and love themselves, and it's too cute and I require every single volume. So my other half knows what he's getting me for the rest of my life. This one of course got 5 stars. Then The Serpent's Shadow by Riordan. This is the 3rd and final book in the Ken Chronicles and I really enjoyed this one. It's making me regret having given the first one to my mother to give to the school that she works in. I kind of need it back because I really like this series. It is a Egyptian mythology series in the same kind of vein as his Percy Jackson books, although I've never read them, and the children in the series can harness the power of the ancient Egyptian gods, and they utilise this to try and save the world from the evil ancient Egyptian gods. I loved this. I love how they integrate the gods into it. There is a surprising amount of penguinage, highly recommend, and I talked about this and I read this for the Total Bollocks live stream that was last month, which was middle grade themed, so if you want to hear more about that and everyone else's thoughts, I will link the live stream for you. A 4-star rating for this one. Then the only ebook I read this month, and that is Superior by Angela Saini, and this is a book on the reappearance and the resurgence of race science. So this was a thing that was heavily linked with eugenics and was very popular pre-World War II, and then after that they kind of realised that that shouldn't be a thing, and it's the kind of slow re-emergence of this into society under different names, under different hypotheses, and how some of it is interesting, for example linking the different proto-humans through to different racial lineages, but also how most of it is just racism but under a different name. Very, very interesting. I loved the author's kind of take on this. They are British with Indian heritage, but they also are old enough that they grew up in a time where they were categorised as black in the UK. So very, very interesting, absolutely fascinating, highly recommend. I was highlighting like every sentence almost. I was recommended this by Hannah from Ladder M, and she gave me, it was a beautiful recommendation, absolutely fantastic, amazing, and I'm pretty sure she is recommending it for the Fuck the Patriarchy prompt that we have for this month for the Total Bollocks read along, so check it out. 4 stars for this one. Didn't quite manage that 5-star mark, but still a fantastic book. If a non-fiction gets 4 stars from me, it's good. Then I read City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This was last month's Goldsboro GSFF book. I was a little bit behind on them. This was my first ever Tchaikovsky and I really enjoyed it. I'm very glad. It took me a while to get into it. I'm not even gonna lie, it took me a little bit of time to kind of actually get into and get invested in this fantasy world, but now I'm mad there isn't going to be a sequel. How the hell do I talk about this? It's got everything in it. So you start off following multiple different points of view, and one of them is a man who is the only person left alive who believes in his god, and he can see his god and he's shrunken down and tiny, and he has a lot less power than he used to because he only has one believer. He's trying to survive and to keep his god alive, and there are other people who are trying to survive in this regime where some outsiders have come in and taken over, and they have blocked out all other religions, all other cultural activities. You are expected to fall into line in this very regimented regime of XYZ kind of colonizer mindset, and it's people fighting back against that, whilst also not truly wanting to be cohesive. They all have their own agendas. Whilst they want the same aim in general of getting rid of the pals, is the name of them, at the same time they all want to be in charge, and they don't agree with the general aims of the other groups. And I just thought it was a very interesting, very fantastical version of diving into kind of how to fight off colonialism, but with the fact that in reality these people all don't want the same ending. They want the same, like, overarching ending, but the details of it, they want very different things. But this is most definitely fantastical. You have demons that are brought up from hell to man this machinery in this world. There's a mystical wood. Like, if Tchaikovsky doesn't write anything else in this world, I will be very confused, because he has done a lot of world building here to set up a lot of possibilities, a lot of different things that he could delve into. He can do companion books, he can do series, like there's so much that he could go into with this, and I truly don't know how to describe it to you. There's so much crammed into these 500 pages, but I ended up really enjoying it, which I'm very glad, because this is beautiful and I always love enjoying a beautiful book. A 4-star rating for this one. And then I finished this month's Goldsboro science fiction fantasy, which is The Witch and the Tsar by Olesya, Salnikova, Gilmore. This one I didn't enjoy as much, unfortunately. It was fine. So I really enjoyed the fact of what this was, which was a different Baba Yaga retelling. So Baba Yaga is known in Russian folklore, she's seen as this evil witch, but this twists that on its head, gives it a bit more of a feminist retelling, and it teaches you a little bit about Russia at the time period which this is set in, which is in the 1500s with Ivan the Terrible. I really enjoyed this in terms of learning about that time. She's definitely done a lot of research into that to be able to kind of give non-Russians kind of an overview of it, but I have seen some reviews, people who speak Russian and who know more about this, who aren't keen on how much she panders to the Western mindset and to English speakers. I didn't notice it because I'm English and I only speak English. Apparently she's saying things in Russian and then kind of re-saying them in English in a way that just is very repetitive if you know the Russian, rather than leaving the reader to fill in the blanks for themselves. And I learnt a lot about Baba Yaga and her mythology and the Russian gods prior to Christianity coming in and taking over everything, which I thought was very, very interesting. I loved learning about them. It was fine. It's one of my most disappointing Goldsboro books, which is sad. 3.5 stars for me for this one. Next up we have Warcross by Marie Lu. I was so hesitant about this one because I'd read the Legend trilogy and just found it fine. This is one of her newer books released in 2017, and it follows a young girl who hacks into the biggest VR game that is on the planet, and because of the hacking she's then brought in by the young man who invented it to hunt down and find people who are trying to break into the game. So a mixture of Ready Player One, because VR and all that, and kind of Mindwalker, I guess? Yeah. Anyway, very much enjoyed everything up until the romance. There is a romance in here, it is a YA book, and for me it was just... The romance then leads into a plot point that, like, I'm not about. Like, it was just kind of... it ruined it. I was like vibing with the actual kind of game side of this book. Her being exposed to this world, going from very, very poor to having a lot of money available to her and all of these facilities available to her. I do want to read Wildcard because I did enjoy the gamification of this, but it was the characters that let it down. It was when it was just primarily world building and it's telling you all about the game. It was just simultaneously so good and disappointing. There was like a plot twist right near the end that was obvious from about here. It very much had its downs, but I enjoyed the depiction of video games, and I'm learning that that is something that I really like in books. So I think I'm going to, after Wildcard, not read any more Marie Lu unless she releases any more game style stuff, because I believe she was a game dev, so she gets that, kind of nails that on the head. 4 stars for this book. I want more game books. And then the last book I read this month It is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe by Douglas Adams, the second book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy of 5 books. This entire series, I can just tell, is just going to be stupid. It's dumb, it's stupid, there's no real plot, there's no real character development. The only character that anybody likes in these books is Marvin, and yet for some reason I'm still enjoying it enough to continue reading it. It's very, very weird. We're going to be having our thoughts on this at about, I think, the 12th, roughly. So if you do want to join in the live stream, that's going to be on Hannah's channel, that I am, she's linked down below. So you can come and see everyone's thoughts on this. I don't want to say too much before the live. But yes, it is odd and I'm enjoying it and I'm looking forward to carrying on with the series. But it did just get a 3.5 stars from me. These are the books that I read in February, which, considering it's the shortest month of the year, it's a fair few more than I read in January. So I wrote the stats down, so if we take a look, in total I read 2,676 pages across 8 different books. Not the highest number of pages I've read, but again, I'm having a chill year this year, so I'm happy with that. The format for these is 1 ebook, 2 hardbacks, and 5 paperbacks. Out of those, only 2 of them were from non-white authors. This is a problem that I'm having this year. Obviously it's only 2 months in, but both months I've only read 2 books from non-white authors, and also I think all 4 books so far have been from Asian authors. I need to resolve that. I don't know how it's happening, it's not intentional, but I need to make it intentional to diversify that. And then the nationality of the authors, it can stay upside down. 3 American, 1 Chinese, 1 Japanese, these 2 and the ebook make 3 English. I brought in 3 books this month. One of them is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, which I read in 2020 and I loved, and so I picked up a second-hand copy when I managed to grab it. One of them was the Goldsborough book, which you can check out in my March TBR if you'd like to see it. The other one is the Valentine's Day present that my partner got me, A Man and His Cat. So I only had 3 books come in this month, and only 1 has been added to my TBR, whilst I've removed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books from my physical TBR. Let me know down in the comments below, folks, your favourite book of February. It's obviously A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakurai, like everybody knows this. And if you'd like to see what I end up reading in March and how I enjoy that, then please do hit the subscribe button down below in the description. All of my social media links are down there if you want to follow me, as well as everyone I've mentioned in the video today. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!